Hi, it's Lauren here. So today we're going to be looking at Sirsasana or headstand. And headstand forms part of the finishing sequence of Ashtanga yoga. And we normally start to learn it when we're about part way through the primary series. And the reason why we wait a little bit is it's really important that we have the necessary strength and flexibility in our shoulders, strength in our core to really allow us to practice headstands safely without risk of injury. So in this video today, I'm going to run through a few preparations that you can try for headstand and then some practices, and then we're going to practice headstand as well. Okay, so normally when we practice headstand, we're already a little bit warmed up because we've done most of our practice. For me today, I'm not feeling that warm, so I'm just going to pop on over into downward dog to do a little bit of a warm up. So downward dog is a really great way to kind of bring flexibility into your shoulders, to connect with your core, to prepare yourself for headstand. So really trying to think about spreading the fingers, lifting your shoulder blades down your back and engaging your lower belly. If you're feeling a bit tight through your hamstrings, the backs of your legs, you can always bend and straighten your legs as well. So I'm going to stay here for 5 breaths, lifting my shoulders, pressing down through my hands, 2, engaging my lower belly, 3, 4, 5, and from there I'm going to come down to kneeling. Okay, so to begin, the first thing we need to think about is the position of our head on the floor and our hands when we're practicing headstand. So you want to think about interlacing your fingers. You're not going to really squeeze them really tight. It's going to be a firm but kind of open holding position with your hands. Okay, and then from there you can take your hands behind your head, and what you want to do is you want to really try and keep your elbows in, so to avoid something like this happening, elbows in, thinking about drawing your shoulder blades down your back, engaging your core, and try not to let your ribs flare out like that. So you're really drawing your lower ribs in, and again we're going to stay here for 5 breaths. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. Okay. So I always like to fold my mat over a little bit when I am practicing my headstand. That's just to give me a little bit more padding. Okay, and what you want to think about, headstand is essentially an arm balance. So we're just touching the top of our head down on the floor, and all of the weight is really going to be held through our arms and our shoulders and our core. Okay, and just thinking about the position of your head, you kind of want to aim for the top of your head here. Some people find it a little bit easier to do your headstand further forward, especially when you're a beginner. You can kind of play around with that for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to interlace my hands on the floor to set myself up, and a lot of the time what happens when you're trying headstand in the beginning is that your arms kind of go out to the side. Okay, so we want to make sure that we are keeping our elbows underneath our shoulders. All right, so you can even bring them a little bit closer to start. And the first thing we want to think about is really pressing our forearms and our wrists and our hands down into the floor. Okay, so if you just take a look, I'm going to press my arms down into the floor, I'm going to engage my core and stay here for 5 breaths. 1, so my shoulders are really active. 2, 3, I'm pressing the floor away, strong bandhas. 4, 5, and then exhale, coming back into child's pose. So that's the first stage of trying your headstand, okay? And you can work on that for as long as you need to. What you want to make sure is that you're really able to keep that activation through your shoulders at all times like this, and that you don't end up kind of sinking down into your shoulders, because if you do that, that's what's going to happen when you start to go upside down, okay? So that's the first stage. Second thing that you might like to try is kind of a dolphin. I think it's called dolphin pose, but we're going to do it with our heads in a handstand, in a headstand kind of shape, okay? So same thing, I've interlaced my hands, I've got my elbows underneath my shoulders, and I'm pushing my hands down into the floor. From here, as I push my hands down, I'm going to activate my core, strong bandhas, and I'm going to lift my feet off the floor. And I'm just going to let my head hang down. And again, I'm going to stay here for 5 breaths, pushing the floor away with my arms. If you want to make it a bit more challenging, you can kind of bring your shoulders forward by coming up onto your tiptoes. 2, pushing the floor away. 3, strong bandhas, head relaxed, neck relaxed. 4, 5, bring your knees down. You can rest for as long as you need in child's form. So again, that needs to feel kind of relatively easy before you're ready to, not too easy obviously, but relatively easy before you're ready to move on to the next stage. And with all of these stages, I would say maybe practice each one 3 times with a short rest in between, never more than 3 times because you don't want to overdo it. Okay, so the next preparation we're going to try, similar to the first one, but it's kind of got an added extra challenge. Okay, so we're going to set ourselves up again. Interlacing hands, shoulders underneath wrists, and I'm really firmly pressing my arms down into the floor. So what you want to avoid happening is something like this, where your arms kind of spread out and externally rotate. And if you're keeping that action of pressing your arms down and your shoulders active, then that won't happen. Okay, so pressing everything down, I'm going to take the top of my head down to the floor. Keep pressing down through my arms, lifting my shoulders. I'm going to engage my core, come up, and then from here I'm going to see if I can push my arms down and lift my head off the floor. And again, I want to keep my neck nice and relaxed. 1, keep pushing down. 2, shoulders lifting. Lower belly, lower ribs in. 3, 4, 5. Exhale, coming down. Whew, so that one was hard. Just when you're trying that one, just be aware of your neck. Okay, so a lot of the time, what I see people doing is they set themselves up, they're ready to go, and then instead of pushing down to lift their head off the floor, they lift their head by moving their neck, okay? And that's not really going to have the desired effect of strengthening your shoulders. So if you are trying that one, that's just something to be aware of, okay? So from there, if you can do all of those with a relative amount of comfort, well, or ease, and you're not kind of collapsing down into your shoulders like that, or bringing your shoulders up towards your ears, then you're probably ready to start to try a headstand, okay? And what I want to make sure that you don't do is you don't kind of try your headstand like that, okay? Because then it's really just a case of luck whether you make it up or not, okay? We want to kind of work on our strength and do it safely rather than leaving it to fate whether we're able to balance or not, okay? So first thing we're going to do, setting ourselves up as we have been, pushing my arms down, taking my head down to the floor, and then I'm keeping my elbows in as they push down. I'm engaging my core. I'm going to lift up and I'm going to start to walk my feet in, okay? And then from there, keeping that activation through the shoulders, I'm going to lift one foot off the floor Draw that knee in towards my chest, but I'm still pushing down through my shoulders. 2, 3, 4, lifting my shoulders. 5, exhale, coming down. And then I'm going to try that on the other side. Again, so bringing my knee towards my chest. 1, pushing down. 2, 3, so my head is just lightly touching the floor. 4, 5, exhale, coming down. Okay, so what you want to start to think about once you can do that is that you're maybe ready to try the next stage, which is starting to lift both feet off the floor. Okay, so same thing again, setting yourself up, and this time you're going to walk, and you can do this with bent or straight legs. Okay, so I'm pushing my arms down, lifting my shoulders, engaging my core, and I'm going to do it with bent legs to begin with. Start to walk my feet in. Once my hips are on top of my shoulders, I'm going to be able to lift my feet off the floor, and then from there, gradually begin to straighten my legs. So you want to try and use your whole body in your headstand. So you're pushing your arms down, lifting your shoulders, engaging your core, and really squeezing your legs together as well. So your whole body is active, rather than kind of letting everything collapse down. Staying nice and strong. And then when you're ready, bring your knees back and slowly come back down to the floor. And again, take as much time as you need with your head down or resting in child's pose before you're ready to try the next one. Okay, so I just want to show you one thing that happens a lot when people are practicing headstand, and provided you do everything right and you really think about that action of keeping your shoulder blades down your back, this shouldn't happen. Okay, if you start to feel it happening, then you just need to kind of pull it back a bit and kind of work on one of the other preparations. Okay, so sometimes what happens is people are walking in, and then their shoulders, hopefully I'm showing that, okay, start to kind of roll forward, and you get in this kind of hunched position, and all of the pressure goes into your neck. So basically you're kind of doing something like that, and that's what you really want to avoid happening. Okay, so that's just something to be aware of when you're practicing your headstand. And finally, the next stage that you can start to try is to come up with straight legs. And again here, you need a certain amount of flexibility through the back of your legs. So setting yourself up as you have been, so you should know this by now. Elbows underneath your shoulders, hands interlaced. You're going to take your head down. So you're pushing the floor away, lifting your shoulders, engaging your core, drawing in your lower ribs, and then just press your arms down into the floor, and eventually your legs will lift all the way up and you'll be in headstand. And then something else that you can start to work on as you build strength is to come down with straight legs. The way that you do that is you really draw in your lower belly, shift your hips forward over your head, and then start to lower down to the floor. And then just make sure that you give yourself enough time to rest with your head down when you've finished. Okay, so that is headstand. If you have any questions about it, feel free to get in touch, or if you have any comments, you can write them down below and I will get back to you. So thanks very much for watching. Bye.